It'd be nice to mute yourself until the theme song's over.
Go your own way, stones and shadows bite, willows whisper of darkness deep and wide. In the forest there is no place to hide. Strange paths. Tonight I fear that I will not survive the dying of the light.
This is The Dying of the Light, Season 3 of the Starfall Collective. The Starfall Collective is a collaborative story. The Dungeons & Dragons game system is a vehicle for creating rich and compelling stories in a fictional world that we've been developing together for a while. You can find out more about the collective as well as the stories we're telling at thestarfallcollective.com. We're back with a new episode. Let's find out who's in this episode. I am Sir Robert, a father and entrepreneur, and I am the host of this season's story. With me tonight are a few friends playing the characters in this drama. Please say your name, something about yourself if you like, and a brief description of the character you are playing. How about you, Jared?
Hey, my name is Jared. I'm playing Yoshka. He is kind of a beefcake of a muffin song.
All right.
A bard.
And Josh?
Hi, my name's Josh. I am playing a Kinku who has many voices but not one. His name is Inkatink, and right now he is trying to do his darndest to help his party member find his magic that hopefully we'll find out was in him all along.
And Jared. I'm sorry. And Jacob.
Hi, I am Jacob Burbridge, and tonight I will be playing Talad, who has recently entered this town that has a very large association with carved stone, and he is very interested in that.
Good. Pat?
Hello, I'm Patrick. I am playing the character Toll, the half-orc with a magical stick.
And a heart of gold.
That too, but he didn't get that from an old man in a dream.
Aha. Much younger man. And Dwight?
Hi, I play Belvari, who's a human teenager. And tonight, Belvari is sponsored by Hum Probiotic Kombucha. It tastes great with less sugar.
And just before we do Matt.
It's great with less sugar. Why don't they put less sugar in it?
Yeah, you'd think.
Doesn't seem like good marketing to say what you did wrong on the label.
And just for legal purposes, they are not an actual sponsor. That was a joke.
Look out for those Hum lawyers.
Matt.
Sued for giving people.
Big kombucha took everything I had.
That's right. Matt?
I'm still getting over Jared's introduction. Beef muffin or whatever what you said.
Beef muffin.
My name is Matthew Talamini. I'm a writer and web developer based in Providence, Rhode Island, and you can find my stuff at MatthewTalamini.com. That is Matthew TALAMINI.com. I play the shirtless wizard Diamondback.
All right. Well, let's get started. Previously, we found the party in. Previously, we found the party in a strange town in a strange land. They themselves strangers. They are wandering in a place that, for the first time in their lives, in most of their lives, they are encountering undead. And for the first time in probably all of their lives, they're encountering them plentifully and seemingly naturally in the wild. Previously, they've been in a land owned by a beast lord god, as they have been piecing together, I suppose. I'm trying to say this in their voices. And they are now in the land of a different kind of god who has some different influence. Well, comfortably so, in which the town seems to have some sort of allegiance to the dreaded Iron Bell. The Iron Bell is an organization that rules seemingly with an iron fist. This town is the first they've seen of its kind in their lifetimes, in which the town folk seem glad for the Iron Bell. They in fact have a bell hanging in the center of their town, hanging from a kind of boon that the Iron Bell has given them, this floating white stone. They got a warm welcome. They have been in the town and finding things out, but
Revealing secrets.
Revealing secrets all pell-mell and willy-nilly, as Belvari would have me say. They went to sleep in this very secure place, and throughout the first watch, in spite of being in the town, they are with strangers, so they are keeping watch. And throughout the first watch, they were hearing increasing noises in the forest around them. And in the second watch, the noises were increasing as they passed off. There's rustling and shambling and all sorts of other types of movement.
Probably snakes.
Probably snakes, says Belvari.
Belvari was so right tonight.
And
He's never been more right than tonight, I think.
It's true.
And sorry, give me 1 second. Getting myself right. In the middle of the night, they don't know exactly when, but sometime in the second watch, the whole party, probably indeed the whole town, and remember, this town has like a dozen people and is very vertically oriented instead of sprawled out with a giant bone and antler and branch and bramble wall. This party was awakened by the tintinnabulation. So,
Wait, Toll's ringing the bell?
this toll slamming.
So,
Yes,
Sir Robert,
they're
you're
gone.
frozen. I don't know if you can hear me, but the last.
Oh, they're gone.
And he's gone. Well, tonight I'll be taking over for Sir Robert, and everybody roll for initiative. What's that? A gold dragon drops 50,000 platinum pieces onto your hands, and an airship pulls up, and a gnome says,
"Which one of you folks will be captaining this fine vessel to fairer lands?"
Cool, that's canon, right?
Yep, Diamondback receives the Staff of the Magi. Toll, you receive the Holy Avenger and take 15 levels of Paladin. Well, I was, Sir Robert failed to mention, but I was a big fan of the 5,000% increase in cosmological revelation. We finally got something like a actual book-ended pantheon, a comprehensive pantheon.
Pantheon of what?
Apparently regional
Exactly.
gods. Yeah, I mean, my initial thought. This is our own little short rest episode, like the Not Another D&D podcast, folks. But I was thinking, if one of those gods presides over each of the quote unquote pie pieces of the radially land, that would kind of make sense. So that was my initial gut reaction, is that each of those gods resides over their own little pie wedge. Of course, what those gods are and whether they're actual gods or,
Yeah. I didn't have any
personification.
reason for thinking this, but I just kind of assumed that they were unrelated and organically evolved from history and days of year. But I guess
That
it
they're
would probably be more
personifications of
fulfilling.
power sources rather than actual personalities.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't thinking about what their origins were, just their relationship to each other. I kind of assumed was tenuous.
Or accidental. The fact that you've got people in an area who are aware of things going on around them is the reason why you've got all these gods being spoken of at once, not because there's some higher cosmological order that actually binds them as a pantheon or something. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but like I said, I have no reason to think that.
So
I just think
me and Josh and some of the others have some context from season 2 that you may not have, Patrick, which we can fill you in on. In season 2, I was the DM for season 2, and I asked Sir Robert, hey, what can I do to help set up for season 3? And Sir Robert was like, well, there's going to be a Starfall in season 3. Or it's going to be like sometime after Starfall. So in season 2, part of the quest for things.
Cosmology.
It's a good idea.
Hey, Sir Robert, welcome back.
Hey, thanks. We actually heard everything y'all were saying and couldn't do anything about it.
Huh.
Oh,
Yeah.
we could not see you and you weren't on the stream.
Can you
I
see me
typically-
now?
Yes, we can
Yes,
see you
we can
now,
see you.
and you are on the stream.
All
I
right. pretty
typically
good.
can't do anything about the things I say either. So
Okay.
I mean, you could.
I don't know if it finished uploading that portion from our thing. It seemed to stop. However, I'm recording locally, so worst case scenario, I'll splice it in. And
Riverside will split it into 2 separate MP3s.
yeah. So speaking of that, what was the last thing you did here?
you talked about Toll causing the tenabulation by slamming himself against the bell, tolling it with his own toll self.
Okay, that was a that was a joke. Stop
That was
raging.
not canon.
It was not canon. That's
I want
right.
to see fan art drawn of that happening.
That's right. I guess I should formally state that so far nothing this season has been canon. Just kidding.
Wow.
So let's go ahead and get started. The first watch was perhaps Neno. I don't remember. And the second watch was
First watch was
Talad.
me.
The first watch was Ingeting. Second watch was Talad with Neno, I think, staying up with him maybe. And then I don't remember who's going to be third. I do know that Belvari went first.
Diamondback
So-
was going to take third watch.
Diamondback third. Okay. So we have two things to do during the night. And I'm going to, before the night, we're going to retcon a little bit for Jared. He wanted to say something about something Yoshka was doing. And then also, before we get to the ringing of the bell part, we're going to do a little interaction with Talad, who mentioned that he wanted to do something during his watch. Jared, Yoshka.
Yoshka, before it got dark, went up to that bell, and how far above, like, head level is it?
It's a good question. So at the ground is this black stone, almost like a gemstone setting. Remember, there was like a kind of low, it was 6 inches out of the ground, probably went into the ground a bit, but it had a kind of almost like a rings stone setting in a sort of geodesic shape. Above that, floating about maybe half a foot, the white stone was floating.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
That white stone is about 4.5 feet tall. And then about a foot above that or so is the bell. So the bell is about 6 feet off the ground. the ropes hanging down from it, and it's hanging on the white stone. So a short character would see it higher. It might be at eye level for you. I don't know how tall Yoshika is. I don't remember.
So Yoshika reaches into his pouch as he puts his hand to the stone and starts tracing over the letters
On the white stone.
Yeah, casting comprehend languages.
Okay. Give me a second. I'm going to look. I just have to look up comprehend languages because I want to make sure I know the details of it.
Comprehend languages.
And you've got components for that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and just to let our audience know, comprehend language, well, I'll tell you in a second. In post, I will have a concise, I have it right here, thank you, a concise explanation of what the spell does. Here's the text of it. For the duration of the spell, you understand the literal meaning of any spoken language that you hear. You understand any written language that you see, but you surface on which the words are written. It takes about a minute to read one page of text or one, equivalent volume of written language. The spell does not decode secret messages in a text or glyph, such as an arcane sigil that isn't part of the written language. And then it says, I'm just looking at it. Casting time is an action. Duration is an hour. Okay. Any written language you see, if you're touching the surface. How long do you spend doing this?
I don't know. Up to an hour, I guess.
Up to an hour. Okay.
Out. So if I've already talked to people, however much time I have, I'm not just going to do a drive-by 1 minute.
Yeah. The language is, or sorry.
And can I say real quick, if Inkatink sees
Inkatink's
Yoshika
making arrows.
Inkatink is making arrows, but if he sees Yoshika doing this, he would probably stop and go over to him and say, "Out loud, please," and try to get Yoshika to read everything that he sees out loud.
Okay. Do me a favor. You know what? I will roll. I'm just going to do a straight up 50-50, whether Inkatink happened to notice Yoshika. There's no reason he wouldn't, but there's also no special reason he would. So 10 and above is yes, you noticed, and below 10,
No.
11 and above is yes, you noticed.
Yeah.
And 1 to 10 is no, you didn't. And it's a 5, you didn't notice.
Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, that sounds good. Yoshika, decrement your things whenever you are ready. It's covered with a lot of strange symbols. Some of them are, to your perhaps surprise, indecipherable. They don't sing to you, but there are little sets of them that you go over that have literal meaning in your mind. Like you have flashes of, let me say this way. Yoshika, as you drag your fingers over the letters, you find yourself having two different experiences seemingly randomly on the surface of the stone. There are some of the symbols that are obscure to you still. As you lime your fingers over other nails, over other symbols, you find flashes of sounds and images and things, ideas passing before your mind that you understand to be these symbols. They're usually small threads of words, so not like just a random, donkey, and then something. They're little phrases. Not all of them make a lot of sense to you, and not all of them distinctly have translations, and you don't comprehend how it is a translation. Here are some examples.
Okay.
These are some of the phrases as you run your fingers around this thing. This takes you about 45 minutes based on the size of the stone and the amount of and spacing of all the letters of the symbols. You have phrases like this. Sorry. As above, so below. And the brood. And beneath the den. And the undying wood. You also distinctly have a set of impressions that are almost muscular in the way they manifest themselves in your mind, like a shiver or a twitch or something. And that happens, you'll feel the same sequence a few times of twitches, as though your body is a vessel for this idea that your mind isn't as much. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They don't exactly make sense to you, but you can language and not nonsense or random reaction.
Okay.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Meaning the body language. Jeez.
And so you're going to do that before the first watch, before you start,
Yeah.
like maybe during the silent time. Yeah.
I have a
Jacob.
question.
Yeah.
Was my chance to talk to the woman supposed to come before we went to bed that night?
Yeah, you can do that. Oh, that's right. We were going to do that at the beginning of this episode. Sorry. Yes, we can do that. Do you want to do that now?
Yeah, sure. If Jared is
Okay.
done.
Yeah, Jared, you all set? So we'll do Toll, because that's also before bedtime, and then we'll do Jacob's Talad's, which is going to happen during his watch before the bell tolls. So this is just for framing for when I do post, I'll know where to put this. This is Toll. Morka, the arcanist for the town, had previously come to Toll, and the thing she said to him was she was not going to say much, but she saw his staff and was a little perplexed by it, and asked him, "When did you meet Morris?" Toll, it's around the time of silence. There's about 45 minutes or an hour of that before people decide to go to bed. It's getting twilight, nearing dark, and Yoshka has gone off to fondle this large white obelisk floating beneath the town. Inkatink is whittling away at some sticks and bone and things. Belvari is already asleep. Toll, you go and you find Morka. She had told you actually you could talk to her later. She's happy to, but she was in the middle of a different conversation at the time. So yeah, you want to go find her. You find her on a platform up above one of the platforms. What happens? How do you do this?
Yeah, so I will walk up to her. Actually, before I go, I'll ask the party. I'm going to talk to Morka about this man that she says I've met, and I think I've told them like what I remember from this dream like state I got this thing from, so they know that there was like a guy there. And
And can you turn your mic up just a little,
yes.
Patrick?
That was like 3 notches there.
That's good.
Okay, cool. So yeah, they should know all of that, and I'm assuming Toll would assume that because she saw my staff and said, "When did you meet Morris?" That was named Morris. So I'll ask Do any of you all have any questions you think I should ask?
Ask her if she wishes to know of the greater world, the movings of the greater world. If she does, tell her to come speak with me.
Okay, will do.
We have seen things she may be interested in. Do you remember the dream we had of the great fireflies?
Yes, I remember some of it.
Sorry, real quickly, would you do a sound check for me? I was trying to do a louder speaker here, and I don't know that I got it. Matt, would you say something?
This
Okay, I
I'll
don't
be
hear you. Give me
back.
1 sec. I'm sorry. Say something, Matt.
Hey, this is Matthew. I'm Diamondback.
Okay, that we heard, and I'm just going to get that volume a little higher for these guys. One more time, Matt.
Hey, this is Matthew. I'm
better?
Diamondback.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. Toll, do you remember the dream Jared asked?
Yeah, I remember some of it. Yes.
If you need to trade information, she may wish to know about the fireflies above and the one coming down.
I don't know if Toll. Did everybody get that whole dream, or was that one of the things where we like rolled and the check got higher and higher?
I think you came after most of us had that dream.
We didn't all have it, but we've talked about it.
And they didn't all get all the way through.
No, I think Toll had a dream with fireflies. Hasn't this happened a few times? We've had dreams where it's
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it absolutely has.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, so he remembers fireflies being up in the canopy and the canopy having canopies above it and stuff like that. So I'll remember that and I'll bring it up if it seems like it'll be helpful. All right. If nobody has anything else, he will head to Morka.
Okay. So you go and you find Morka. She is with people, but not talking to anybody. She's doing something on her own. It looks like perhaps getting ready for the evening. You don't know, some small task.
Morka, I was hoping we could talk now, if it's an okay time.
Ah, hello.
You seem to know about the person who gave me this, and I'll hold out the staff.
And she looks at it for a moment, and you have the feeling that she's frames to try to pull back in. And she says, Morris, yes.
What can you tell me about him?
What can I tell you about him? I suppose I know probably the same as you, if you've met him, but he is kind of, and she struggles for words that'll concisely convey what she means, and eventually she settles on, honestly, I don't really understand him. I don't know him myself. I have only been able to glimpse him a few times.
You say glimpse him. Is he human?
Oh, I would say that he seems so. Let me explain. There is an unusual magic sometimes I can find in these woods. Not I, of course, I don't go out anymore. They won't let me because of the dangers, but sometimes when the others go out and they find some of the magics of the wood, they bring them to me. And one in particular lets me see things far away. And she kind of leans forward and whispers something. She says, I call it the scry. And then she comes back and she leans back and she says, so when I do this, I can see things that are far away, but I cannot always control what I see. Mostly I can choose to see things if they are well known to me, but I mostly know this town. That said, I don't understand why, but sometimes when I scry, the places I see do not make sense to me. And then I see Morris. I only know because I saw him talk to another once or twice, and he has told them his name is Morris. But I recognized your staff. He has other trinkets as well.
Yes, I somewhat remember those other trinkets. He offered me my pick of several. Do you know anything about his goals or why I had a run-in with him?
I couldn't say for you. I don't know you at all, or Morris for that matter. I will tell you this. Well, that may not be right. I can tell you from some conversations I've overheard, either Morris or his father are concerned with fathers.
Concerned with what?
Fathers. So I'm sorry this is confusing. I don't know who his father is, but he mentions his father frequently when I hear him talking. And he says his father knows this and that or something, but they seem frequently to be concerned with other people's fathers. Does that help at all?
Well, I do seem to remember him talking about a father. But it doesn't help me. Unfortunately, it doesn't help me figure out why he contacted me or how I can contact him, unless you know that. Do you know where these scryings take you? Can you point me in a direction, perhaps?
For most scryings, I can, but for these, the way there doesn't make much sense. But I tell you, I see Morris almost always in a wooden room.
Yes, that's where I saw him too, and the way I got there didn't make much sense either, unfortunately.
Well, may I ask you, how did you get him to give you a staff?
Well, I didn't really have to get him to give it to me. He asked me some questions. I can't remember specifically what, but he offered me my pick of perhaps 3 or 4 different items.
And did you scry? How did you find your way to him?
Well, we were going through a portal, and
What's a portal?
I guess Toll wouldn't even know what a portal was. We went through some magical door that linked us from one place to another place far away, and well, I got curious while we were going through it, and I put my head through, and there I was.
I don't understand, but okay.
Yes, I don't either. Well, I was hoping that maybe you could help me find this man, but it seems as though I'll have to look elsewhere. I appreciate your help nonetheless, though.
Well, I'll tell you this. I don't know for sure, but he seems good.
I got that impression from him as well. If he wanted to harm me, he would have easily been able to.
If you do ever meet him again, will you tell him? I don't know that this will mean anything to him, but will you tell him that Morka says hi?
Sure, I'll tell him.
Thank you.
Thank you. And one last thing. My friend, the Bard, he asked me to ask you if you wish to know of the greater world, and if you do, to speak with him.
Is he a scryer as well?
Not, well, no, but he does have a taste for adventure and a taste for knowledge, and it seemed like he thought you might have the same.
All right. Well, thank you. I'll see him in a little way. I'll see him later.
Great, and I'll take my leave.
Good night. Yoshka, you want to do that?
Sure.
All right. So, Yoshka, you're perplexing over this stone. And it's getting dark. People are going to sleep. Some people are manning the watch. They're doing this up on top, where they've got those large skulls mounted as a kind of shielding that they can look out from and be protected by the thick plates of the skull. So there are people up there, and Inkatink is taking the first watch above. You're finishing up with the stone and readying for bed, but Morka comes and says, "Hi, you wanted to talk to me?"
Yes, I. From what you said earlier to my friends, I thought you may benefit from some things we have seen.
Come, sit with me upstairs. Or, sorry, sit with me above. And takes you up to her platform. It's dark-ish on the lowest platform. It seems like they keep it that way. There's nothing particularly illuminating, except that the white stone glows a little, not brightly, leaving a sort of dim nightlight at the bottom. She takes you up several platforms to a place that looks as though it's reserved for her. It has lots of things hanging on the walls, the hide, kind of stretched hide walls, and from above as well, and from the wall. And there's a dimly glowing fire in a stone pit with a wave of a hand and some components. The fire dies down, and then she reaches in, crushes a few other components, and some magic lights appear.
The light goes down.
That was an accidental sound effect. So, wait, am I gone?
I mean, I can still.
Okay,
I'll
great.
still hear
I
you.
just got your text, Matt,
That you weren't on.
that said come back. Okay, so yeah, she invites you to sit. Now the fire is not there, but a sort of gently glowing, steady nighttime light is there. It's bright enough to see, but it feels confidential.
Okay. I say, well, you know we are from the land of Simderon, and we have all been chased away from our homes. And each of us had the very same dream that then came to pass. Would you like me to tell you it? Or would you like to see it?
She sits back a little bit, perplexed for a moment. How will you dream me your dream?
Well, we met a tree lady who taught me a different way of singing.
Okay. Tell me or show me or whatever.
I am a singer, you know. or maybe she doesn't. So I sing her that song. The dark, the black of the night makes the fireflies bright, dancing and twinkling around, and just convey that dream that we had to her, all the way through, seeing up through the trees, up through the greater trees, and the fixed fireflies, and then that strange glyph that was glowing that a number of us are familiar with, that was on Gulb's arm, and then the fire.
And are you using an ability to do this? Is this a...
Yeah.
Will you tell me, just so I can...
This is my homebrew, non-approved, but except for you've let me do it once.
Sure.
The bard ability, enthralling performance. I wanted to be able to, instead of charm people, so like let people be able to see
Yeah.
the dream.
Great.
Yeah.
And just to be explicit for this, they're going to have the same experience of this dream as though they had dreamed it. So it's not...
Okay.
They're not necessarily getting like a video recording of your experience of the dream. They're getting a kind of first person. It's almost like they're remembering it as you sing it. Your singing of it is a conveying of a memory into them. Fair enough?
Sure.
So then when you say something like for example, if you're talking about it afterwards and you say something like the floating symbol, right?
Mm-hmm.
She'll know what you're talking about, and she'll be able to see the symbol approximately as you remember it.
Yeah.
Fair enough?
I was imagining it was kind of through any interpretations I had done of my experience,
Yeah.
kind of like passing on the experience as I remember it.
Great. Yeah.
Is that what you're
Absolutely.
saying? Okay.
Yeah. But she's not feeling it as something Yoshka told me. It's much more immediate. Okay, great.
So now just let that sit and say, like, have you ever seen that symbol?
The symbol, let me think. And she takes a few moments to reflect, and she says, it's not exactly a symbol I've seen before, but it's very similar. Just a moment. And she rummages around in her pouch and looks a little dissatisfied and goes over to one of the hide, like buffalo hide, some large skin on the wall, and that make up walls for her. And she rummages through it and looks in several different places and finally seems satisfied. And she takes some components and starts rubbing them quickly and quickly and quickly. And then as she does so, you can see, you can hear a rattling in her hands as she does these components. And she tosses some clear stones onto the ground. They form a seemingly random shape or something. And she stares for a good long while. Sorry, waiting for the refrigerator to stop rattling. And she stares for a good long while. And in the meantime, you hear, the wind blowing. She's not saying or doing anything that you can tell. But then she looks up and says, I found it. Look, well, you can't see, but I don't know how to tell you. I don't know the words to tell you, so I'll tell you the way I know. But there's a symbol. It's not exactly the same as this at the lake of the Baisougen. It's similar, but not the same. But I think it's similar enough that it's probably the same. It's probably related somehow.
Interesting. The very place we are headed. sometimes I feel so lost and taken astray, and then times I feel as if there were some hand carrying me along. I just don't know where I'm being taken. The strange thing about this dream, and I look around to make sure I don't see anybody else listening in. One of these, we saw one of these great fireflies come down.
When?
In Sindaron's domain, there is what we call a long night, where the leaves do not come to glow for many meals. The mist rolls up the river and the woods come alive. The great trees writhe and the hills change places. And anything that is not protected by walls dies. We barely made it into a little hamlet, and we heard the trees. It was like things above. We saw the trees come alive and come against the iron bell. And we saw a great firefly come down from the great trees, down among us, and crash in the woods.
In a dream?
No, I am afraid not. Although it makes me hope as well.
You saw it.
We all saw it very clearly.
You saw it break through the canopy.
Yes,
What was it like? Did you go and find it?
we did not. We were in great danger. We fled for the walls. But it has taught me this. There are ancient ones even above the six. And when it came down, now this is just my youth perhaps, but it felt like it was coming to bring the death of an age.
And Morka seems disturbed by what you're saying. She doesn't say anything for a good while, maybe several minutes. And finally, she says, I could not tell you about those above Garaton or Simdaran, but I will tell you this. In our domain, those who are older, like me, we have seen that the days are getting shorter and the nights longer, the days dimmer, and the nights darker. I think the age is coming to some sort of change because, and she also whispers a little bit, she leans forward and whispers and says, if it goes on much longer, it will be the complete dying of the light. Yoshka, roll me a history check.
I think it's like 10.
Okay. As you think back, you actually, you're not sure if you're remembering or if you're swayed by her description, but it actually does seem like the days are shorter than ever before, or darker or dimmer. Certainly this forest, and there are some forests dimmer than others you have found in Cinderon's territory, but it does seem as though the days aren't as bright as you remember when you were young.
Well, I wanted to be of some use, and that you may take advantage at least of our being blown to and fro. That was the best of what we have learned, and I know it may have deep meanings beyond what I understand right now. I can tell you one more thing that perhaps may mean nothing. You may never see anything of it, or it may mean something to you later. Would you like to hear it?
Sure.
We have come across great plans afoot for by the Iron Bell on Cimderon's side. There was a people I thought would, I don't know, bring something like a brighter light into this world, and we found they have been working with the Iron Bell to bring a great death. At least in our land. I do not know if you will feel it here.
And she kind of nods. Y'all are sitting on these bench-like stools that she has arranged in a near circle around this light. It apparently is where she entertains, when people want to talk to her or something. But she stands up and she's very quiet. She's maybe 3 times your age, approximately. You don't know how old, but she's, certainly your senior. Maybe 60, you can't tell. But she hears what you say, and she walks surprisingly quietly behind you and puts a hand on, as she stands behind your left shoulder, she puts one hand on your right shoulder and slides her hand to the back of your neck and then to your left shoulder. And as she does, you can feel it's cool and soft, friendly. And she leans really close and whispers, standing behind you, whispers into your ear. The bell never rescues. The bell brings death. But how can they be avoided? How can anyone stand in their way? There is anyone that the bell kills, then it's someone worth saving. But she seems to say that, if you didn't know better, you'd say conspiratorially. She certainly doesn't want anyone to hear her say it. She takes her hand off your shoulder, sits back down and says, well, thanks. I don't know what to say about that, but okay.
This is why we are heading north. The only other thing I can offer you is to look at the magics we have from Cimderon's land. Tell me if any of these would be needful.
And this is your component pouch?
Yeah.
Okay. So she does, and she marks a few, and she asks very respectfully if she can take this and that. And she, there's about she's using her own detect magic spells. And she asks for several, about a dozen of you. Do you want me to pick them out in particular, or do you want to grant them?
I probably would use some discretion if they're like scarce.
Okay, give me 1 second, and I'll open up your component pouch, and then it'll just take me just a sec, or we can do it offline or something.
Yeah, you do it later.
So you negotiate that out, and she's totally willing for whatever you're willing for. She's not trying to insist. She's grateful. It's a gift. And as you finish, are you ready to leave? Yeah. And she says, "Before you go, young man," and she walks over to her hanging bits and pieces, and she spends about a minute picking through things, and then comes over to you and hands you a leather pouch, just a normal component pouch full of components.
Oh, thank you.
She says, "Things that I have enough of and may be useful to you."
Thank you.
All right, we'll work that out. So you all go to bed, and you're doing your stuff. Inkatink does his watch. He's whittling away at some sticks.
And real quick, we're going to need to resolve this quickly once we jump into combat. So can I just go ahead and tell you now? I looked up the rules for this, and based on whether or not you consider me proficient at making these, I can make anywhere from 20 to 75. So
For what?
Arrows in the amount of time. Based on the rules, there's an equation for it. And if
Okay.
I'm a proficient maker of arrows, I can make 75 of them. And if I'm just a regular old schmo, I can make 20 of them.
Okay. So that sounds totally fine for me. Do you have a bow, or are you giving these to your? Is the idea to give them?
I asked, I don't have my notes in front of me, I apologize, but I asked the huntress who was next to the orc that everybody was talking to, I asked her to hand me her favorite arrow, and she handed me an arrow, and I've been making clones of that arrow for the last 6 hours.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Sounds good. That was, I believe you were talking to Veradia,
Yes.
the huntress. So
Yes.
what I'm going to do here, Josh, is I'm going to roll in D&D Beyond. I'm going to roll. That number sounds great. That's terrific. I don't have any objection. I'm going to roll. Let me think here. 20 D4, and that'll be how many you made. Does that sound good?
to me. Sounds good to me.
I think that's a minimum of 20 and a maximum of 80.
Mhm.
So
Bonus arrows.
Love that.
you made 50.
Okay.
I rounded.
All right.
No bonus arrows.
So I've got a bundle of 50 arrows.
Okay, great. So,
That's a good amount of arrows.
yeah. And the way I'm going to assume you did that, Inkatink, is you pulled with. Tell me if this sounds like an agreeable way that you might have done this. You would have tried to get permission from Davrat, who is the Wallier. Pulled loose bits of bone and antler and wood out of this extraordinarily thick, massive wall. And he would have given you permission. Sure, yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Does that sound
good
like
to me.
okay?
Sure.
Talon, let's do your thing.
Yeah. So
It's the second watch. You are watching. What are you doing as you watch?
I was up for this too, for what it's worth.
Okay, Toll's there. Your mic's a little hot again, Patrick. So Toll and that's right. Toll and Talon are.
isn't Nano awake as well? I don't.
I think. I don't know. Let's say we'll retcon it with whatever we need to. Hold on, just a second. So you're doing the second watch, and awake with you are Diamondback, Toll, Belvari, Nano,
No, I'm asleep.
Inkatink.
Belvore's asleep.
Diamondback is asleep.
Yeah, I know. I just listed you all so that in the same voice I can edit it and post to be the right people.
That's smart.
So,
Talad is going. He feels safe here. He feels like it's very. He feels at home before everything got significantly more murdery. So he's just gonna do what he always does when he doesn't have anything to do. He's just gonna carve something into the stone.
so you see these large black pillars jutting out. What are you going to carve? Like, are you going to carve away stone, or is the idea putting little pictures in, or?
I think Talad's specialty is carving little pictures of various things like animals or mushrooms, stuff like that. So he is going to carve about the travels that he has been in one of the faces, just each of the people that have been in his party, and then another.
Sorry, and real quickly, you mean the past few days?
Yeah, he's going to carve about the past few days in the town, especially because he's in the town.
And this was your job in your home, was to carve art.
Yeah.
Like relief sorts of pictures and mosaics. So you're just carving in. Do you think you're able to do this pretty quietly, or is it a really loud endeavor?
He knows it's the middle of the night, and he's practiced quietly carving stuff, so he'll try and be discreet about it, but it's also chipping away at rock.
So what I'm going to say you're doing, tell me if this sounds fair to you, is you're taking a heavy piece of cloth that you have, you position the chisel, you've got the cloth in your hand, and you put the chisel in place, press the cloth on it, and put a leather over the top, and tink, 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 and that mutes the sound. You do a couple of them, then you pull it off. It's slow going, but you're able to do it with a nice muted sound. It's not worse than the whistling of the wind, and by your watch, the increasing shambling around. Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
As an approach?
Yeah.
So as you do that, perhaps drawn by the noise, but maybe not, Morka comes down and seems to have awoken recently, but not just now, and quietly tiptoes, glancing and nodding at the others who are awake, but walks over to you and sits close to you for a moment and says, "How are you?"
Talad's gonna be a bit startled by that. He had no idea that anyone had been watching him, so he just startles and almost drops his stuff and says, "Oh, I'm doing very well, thank you."
Young man, you're different than the others, but I don't understand.
Well, it's they're all very seasoned veterans. They've been in the forest their whole lives.
And you have not been in the forest?
Well, I have been in a forest, but I have resigned myself, whether willingly or not, to the confines of a stone establishment. He's like he knows that he's talking to like this aficionado level of the town, so he's sort of slightly bolstering his
like a high official.
Yeah, he's sort of making himself look good.
Uh-huh. And she says, "You've been in a forest. You mean you lived in Simdaran's forest with these others, but not Garatonans?"
Well, I lived under Sindaron's forest, and there was a forest under the forest.
And she's a little bit bewildered and says, she also seems very aghast that you were under the ground. This is not something she's comfortable about. She doesn't seem angry or upset or anything. She's just like uncomfortable. And she says, "You were in the ground."
Yes. And Talad's sort of just now, like picking up the concerned vibes that she's saying and sort of responding in a similarly concerned way.
you were in a forest in the ground.
Yes.
The roots?
There were roots, but under the roots, we had planted trees and mushrooms that grew like a forest. It was much smaller than up here.
And she has no idea what you're talking about. And she says, "Did you just sleep in the dirt?"
No, I was able to carve out myself and my family's own houses into the stone, and we slept in there.
Oh, you slept in a stone tomb.
Yes, we slept. He realizes that she has no idea what he's talking about, so he's sort of trying to draw similarities. It was a house made of stone. It was a stone brick house with no man-made bricks, and there was no heavy door keeping the dead in their place.
She just seems completely bewildered. And how did the bell... What did you pay tribute? What? I don't understand what you're saying. It was a town? Just your family?
Yes, it was a rather large family. It was essentially a town, and the bell. He's gonna sort of pause for a moment because he's remembering what the bell had actually means now. The bell, I thought hadn't come, but they were deceitfully lurking within.
And she arches her eyebrow, but then says, "And why are you not still there? Why did you leave?"
Talad's going to pause for a long moment and say, he's going to say, "A while ago, it seems like forever now, but it was only, he was guessing 5 days ago. I don't know how long it actually is. I had myself a sister, and during the initiation rites for our tribe, for our family, she was murdered by my own uncle."
She's clearly aghast.
Yeah. Talad doesn't even notice. He's just like, he's having like Vietnam flashbacks of this moment. It's really intense for him.
Yeah. So she reaches into her pouch, finds a few things as you're talking, and then crushes several components together for a moment. And you feel, Talad. Give me 1 second. Make me a charisma saving throw on a DC. Sorry, hold on.
Straight charisma.
Yeah, just a straight charisma. Let's call it a DC 18.
That's 14.
Okay. You feel these really strong emotions becoming suppressed, as though you're calming. You know that you're upset, but it is impacting you a lot less. For our listening audience, she has cast calm emotions on Talad successfully. She pats you on the shoulder and says a few things to you, comforting in a kind of maternal way, and you feel not relaxed, but less distressed immediately. And she gives you a few moments. She says, "Young man, thank you. We don't need to speak of it anymore. Listen, I was above in my place, and I was thinking through and praying about each of your compatriots and you, and I had seen something strange in you previously. You remember I asked you about your headaches. You said you do not have headaches, but I think you will. And as I was so praying and thinking, I gave your friend, the singer, some gifts and talked with your other friend, the half-orc with the staff. But it occurred to me, I have something that I don't know why I have it, but I think it would help you feel better about your conditions. And she pulls out and she says, "It looks to me," and she admires your artwork, "as though you like this black stone."
Talon's gonna look up and for the first time realize that he's not at home and that he probably shouldn't have been just carving willy-nilly these depictions of his travels. So he sort of blushes for a moment and apologizes for not asking first.
Mm-hmm. She kind of laughs a little bit and says, "It looks good to me. It doesn't seem as though you damaged it structurally or anything. It's a nice picture, and I appreciate that you've left something of your group. Let me give this to you." And she pulls out some of these calm emotion components, but a lot of them. Like it takes 3 to cast the spell, and she rummages around and pulls out several dozen. And then taking your she pulls a piece of it's like a, what's the right way to say it? Like a river stone, very smooth and round and kind of like a fat coin.
Yeah.
It's rounded all the way around, really as though it's been worn for a long time by wear of water or maybe somebody holding it. And she puts several components in her hand, crushes them thoroughly, and she says, "Come here." And she puts it in your hand, cuts your palm with her finger, and it bleeds a little bit. She like rakes her fingernail across it, puts it in, crushes it in, and then takes just a whole emotion spells, crushes it and grinds it like aggressively, not hurtfully, but it hurts in that scrape she's made in your palm.
Talon is really confused what's happening right now.
And she says, "I do this for some children when they've had too much to deal with. Use this stone, keep it somewhere safe. It'll, for a season, as you grow a little, it'll help calm you." She's and she says, "This normally I just would give you some random stone, but as I prayed, this seemed a good thing for you. And now I can see that it makes sense. You've had a strange event." She pats you again on the shoulder and leaves.
A bunch of chill pills and a mortar and pestle.
Well, that happened.
Did your dad just give you fantasy drugs?
And just to give you all a sense of scale here, it's a small stone. It might classify as a pebble, but like I said, it's really smooth, pretty flat, like a river stone, jet black. It's the same stone as this other stone, which is, by the way, quite hard and brittle. So you've been, working with it. It would be tough to get into a shape like this, but there it is. And it's pretty small. It's maybe an inch or inch and a half diameter. Not a big thing at all. It's not like you couldn't put a hole in it and wear it as a necklace. You'd be more likely to break the whole thing open. So, okay. What's that? So, you can hold that. I'll put it in your inventory. It is not something that casts and charges. It's not like a thing you cast, but
It's not really magical.
She has imbued it with some magic, and it is useful to you to calm you. It'll also, if you're holding it, give you some resistance to, I'll just tell you this, to being frightened.
Oh, that's nice.
So, okay. Let's get into the next part. We're going to do our 10-minute break in just a moment, but another hour, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, you're not sure exactly. And honestly, probably an hour doesn't have an exact meaning in this world. But some time passes.
Yeah.
And you hear this, those of you who are awake hear this. Sorry, hold on one sec. Good. You hear this, these noises and stuff outside. And you also, Talad and the others who are awake, you hear.
Names here.
That's right. Talad and Toll, Diamondback. you hear occasional sounds that you recognize as a magic missile spell or some small thing like that happening. Some components being cast that illuminate an area. From where you are, you remember these sort of stretched hide walls allow breeze to pass through, but light doesn't, can't get around all the corners of the hide. It's overleaving. Your sense is that it gives privacy and protection from visibility outside the walls. The walls themselves are, full of holes and gaps and little tiny ones, not big ones. One of the things that you hear that is concerning, right around the middle of the night, far up above above the canopy, really, you hear a sort of shaking, clattering, something large moving. Sometimes you think quickly and sometimes you think slowly, with a sound of like here and there. You can't tell what it is. Anybody who's awake, which I believe is Toll and Talad at this point, please roll me a history check with a DC 12.
Do you want me to roll a history check and then you can put it in and post if...
No.
19.
19, okay.
That's nice.
Oh, wait.
20 for Toll.
Okay. Talad, actually, I'm sorry. You couldn't remember this. You were not around for this. However...
Maybe it's made of stone. Could I get a bonus? Could I have a problem with that?
No.
That would be weird. Seeing something made of stone
Yeah.
fly through the air.
Toll, you got a natural 20. You distinctly remember this sound. And actually, it was the first night you knew your friends. These that you've come to call friends. You had escaped, if you remember, from Spolash's grasp, having just killed Yat. And you were working your way back towards what they described as this town basket place you remember as Miradau. During that long night, so first night, sure, maybe also the second and third, sometime during that night, before you met the strange Birdman, you heard this same clattering, something really large in the canopy above. You don't know what it is. You have not heard anything like it before or since until tonight, and you're pretty sure you're hearing the same thing. And you can convey that or whatever if you'd like.
Do you hear that?
Talon is going to say, I hear it, but I don't know what I'm hearing.
It sounds like something big up in the trees. I've heard this sound once before. I'm almost sure of it. I don't know what it is, but it's big.
So start hearing some murmuring and clattering above in the town above. They're also hearing this thing, but also with this noise above you, you start hearing significantly, suddenly increasing groaning and shambling outside. Some shouting and yelling that does not sound good. It does not sound natural. All at once, bong, 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 bong. The iron bell on the platform, under the platform below you, tolls. You all awaken. What do you do?
Look up at the walls to see if anybody's on watch to direct us.
You see some people who were below scramble past you up the kind of series of ladders that goes up the platforms, and they scramble upward, and you can hear above you other people saying, "Get to the wall!"
Follow
to them, to each other, right? Facing the other. You follow, Yoshka?
Yeah, I'll follow.
Okay.
Yep,
All of you awake. Okay. You awaken.
Nino had mentioned that she wants to heal people, and if she stay with us, and if she's hiding, she would rather hide up than down.
Okay. That sounds good.
I think. I don't know about that last part for sure.
Okay. And just to let our listening audience know, Erin Joy wasn't feeling well. She's not with us tonight, but she gave us some instructions for generally how to play her character. Diamondback, what are you going to do?
Seeing the others rush past, Diamondback is going to grab up his staff, grab his component pouch, which he uses as a pillow, strap himself all on, get all his equipment together, and then rush after them.
Okay. And finally, Inkatink, what's your plan here?
Inkatink will gather as many of these arrows as he can and run up to the top of the walls and begin distributing these arrows to anyone who he sees has a bow.
They are grateful. They acknowledge you and say thank you, that sort of thing. Especially Veradia is quite grateful. She seems impressed with how well you've mimicked this arrow. There are all around the town, you see in various stages, I guess is the right way to say that, creatures. It has gotten loud enough that, sorry, I have to get his name. It has gotten loud enough that Krafit has had Morka cast some spells and has put lights all around about 10 feet out from the wall, almost a sort of glistening tiara or crown encircling the top of this wall. It illuminates the forest below. It illuminates out, and you can see brightly and then fading to dim light. There are, sorry, I'm getting the thing up that tells exactly what there are. Okay. There are, gosh, it's got to be a couple of dozen skeletons that are clattering and shambling around. They are the skeletons of humanoid-looking things, some that could be a horse or a donkey, or a deer maybe. There are skeletons of other creatures, rabbits and things. You also see a number of what seem as though they're mindless undead of various creatures of the forest. that are groaning in different, almost very animal-like ways. Some of them humanoid, making these sounds. And there are dozens and dozens of them, and they seem to be drawn towards the town. Probably the people you gather from the whispering, from the unexpected loud noise above. They're drawn towards the town and are shambling towards you. What would you like to do? From all directions.
How far away are they?
They're at the wall. The wall is really thick, and that bottom part, you'll remember, goes out a long good 20, 30 feet. But they are seemingly hungry.
Gotcha. And I'm picturing like a tower sort of thing.
So the tower curves deeply inward and then hangs very far out.
Okay.
So it's kind of the inside of a torus, right?
It's concave.
It's concave all the way around, and it looks as though it's been designed to let them walk around the rim. And you'll all notice very clearly now, some of you noticed before, there's a thinner dome above the entire thing that is the same kind of material, but it's got more holes and that they can see through.
So the creatures that are closest to maybe getting over the wall, we wouldn't necessarily be able to see. 'Cause
They're under you.
Yeah, they'd be under us.
Yeah, you can see them. They're just, you can see
There's
through
holes.
this wall. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a strange. It's very sturdy. You can feel as you kind of bounce. It's kind of springy because of all the things interleaved together, but you can tell it's not like about to fall apart. The warrior has done a good job. They trust it. They're walking on it.
Gotcha. I mean, Belvari would pick something nearby and hit it with infestation.
Okay. And why don't you tell what infestation does?
Infestation. You cause a cloud of mites, fleas, and other parasites to appear momentarily on one creature you can see within range. Target must succeed on a Constitution saving throw, or it takes 1d6 poison damage and moves 5 feet in a random direction if it can move, and its speed is at least 5 feet.
Okay. It rolled a 4, and what?
Constitution 13, so it didn't. So then you roll a d4 for the direction.
Okay. And what kind of creature did you target?
Well,
of the things we described.
one with flesh, not just a skeleton.
And
Yeah, zombie guy.
humanoid.
Yeah,
Horse.
humanoid.
Okay.
I mean, whatever's closest. But
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
There's a lot of everything you can pick. So there's humanoids, equinoids, bovinoids, whatever you like. So yeah, a humanoid and
Any what are they called? With the centaurs?
no,
Centauroids?
no, not this time. There are maybe a couple of double centaurs, horse on the front and back.
And would you be willing to make it a d6 and have down be a direction?
Sure. Yeah. Let's do that.
I guess up can't be a direction.
Okay. And I'm just gonna go.
But it's like
If it's on the
hanging
wall.
under a wall.
It actually, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, northeast, southwest, up, down in the direction I went to. You hit this human creature. It's a zombie. It's got half flesh and half not, right? Like its bones are exposed and everything. But it's got a swarm of mites and things around it. And as soon as it does so, it sort of shrieks and howls and lets itself fall back. And where it on its back, and it falls and rolls over and starts scraping hard at the ground, burrowing to try to escape. As it does so, you can see the ground that it's ripping open. What appears, because it's right below you, and the light is illuminating, where the light's going to be brightest off of the thing, it appears as though there are dozens or more in this little, the seconds that it takes to dig this little 1 foot deep hole, dozens of more of what you're not sure, but you get the sickly feeling are undead worms reaching out of the hole to try to get into its flesh. And it suddenly dawns on you why perhaps some of them were uncomfortable with you talking about being underground. So,
Do you have an extra bow?
As you say that, Yoshka, and as Belvari does that, Krafit runs to Belvari and slaps his hand away from his component pouch and shouts, "Stop! You'll get us all killed!" That's where we're going to take our break. It'll be a 10-minute break. We'll come back and get on with the show. Thanks, everybody.
Haha, my hand wasn't even anywhere near my couch.
Not after that.
And he turned it, full dexterity saving throw to turn it and turn it into a high five.
I'd like to see him make a dexterity check and touch my hand.
Jacob, you got to do some stuff.
Do things. Yes.
It's like you're a person.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Wow, you did go crazy. This is Wally.
This is
Oh,
us.
actually, Alexa, playing a monster match. Just feels appropriate for the situation. Alexa, play the monster match. Alexa. Oh, band-aids. Okay. This is very intense. Right. What's that for? Good? Yeah. Pair of black and a pair of brown.
Fancy clothes for fancy soul.
I feel like it is. You actually getting all the way to the
All right.
Back in the salad again.
It just fits so well with your visualized world piece.
That's right. It's time. Let's get into it. Hey, Patrick, are you here?
I'm here.
Great. I'm sure Josh will be back anytime now, so let's go ahead and get started. Just want to get some content in. So, yeah, Yoshka, you ask for a bow, and there are these arrows that have been provided by Inkatink. Elvari has...
Had his hand slapped.
yes, he got a metaphorical hand slap via a literal hand slap.
Now, wait, this is very important, Sir Robert. Are we talking about a back of the hand slap or a front of the hand slap?
Fingertips to the back of Belvari's hand.
Okay, a wrist slap.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question.
Never roll dexterity for dodge.
Yeah, no. Jacob. Pat, what's your question?
Is there just one entrance into the walled area?
There are no entrances into the walled area. You may recall that for you to get in,
Opened up.
they had a spell that unfolded part of the wall and let you in.
Oh, right. Okay.
So they seem to have gone up top, and to your best glance around, have left nobody towards the bottom. Anybody want to do or say anything, or I'll
So what do we
continue?
do now?
Assuming they're shooting them,
They-
I'm gonna
they are not.
disjoint. Oh, they're not?
Only Belvari took action.
What do we do? I'll say to Grafit or the orc guy.
Grafit is near you, and he says, "The bell has tolled. We cannot harm any of them now."
When will they come? How soon?
I am not the master of the bell.
Oh.
They are the masters here.
Do they come in hours or days?
They come when they're ready. Usually, I would say within an hour. Sometimes longer, sometimes immediately. I guess it depends on how far away they are. What we must do now is survive.
So Diamondback is... Oh, go on. If you're still
No, go
talking.
for it.
Diamondback is definitely...
Any of these.
Without killing any that we can't, and you're interrupted by... Sorry, as you talk, I really mean to say, you're not like interrupted, but several of you hear Lambro, he's a hunter with a human hunter, interacted. Pointing, you see him pointing out, and you hear him shout, "Nanaga! Nanaga!" And several of them turn their attention over there. As you look and see what he's pointing to at the edge of the clearing that they're in, that this town sort of creates, you see what looks, to your best ability to tell, a snake about maybe 10 or 15 feet long total, with arms and legs kind of tucked into its side, and as it stands almost upright like a human, and what you imagine would be a big hood like a cobra, but this snake is a skeleton. And it does not seem to be sliding as it's moving on its own accord. It doesn't seem to be writhing its body back and forth to move like a snake does. As a matter of fact, the tail, you would say, is coiled into a circle below it, and it's standing off of that coil, though it is moving, and as it moves a little bit closer and around in a circle, not coming directly at the town, you can see that it's being carried by a writhing swarm of undead snakes.
So Diamondback is definitely doing something at this stage.
Okay.
What is it?
He's sweating and crying and so glad.
You're like a snot bubble.
So
Beautiful.
That's the anime adaptation.
so the first thing that's going to happen on Diamondback's end is that he's gonna see if he recognizes this thing. This is snake stuff. This is undead stuff. This is right in Diamondback's like cultural wheelhouse. This feels very familiar to him, and so I want to see if I recognize it. Do I know what this is?
I'd like for you to roll me a history check with advantage. Give me a second, and I'm going to come up with your DC here because. Okay, and also an Arcana check, not with advantage, just regular.
All right. The history check is going to come out a 24.
That passed.
The Arcana check. Ooh, 1 plus 3 is 4 for Arcana.
So,
Oh. Instantly. Oh. Start eating your components.
that's right. Pass out rations to everyone. No, so
Snail buttholes. Wow.
It's true. I think that's a component.
here's what you recall. Here's what you know about this. Looking at it, was your 24 a natural 20?
No, it was a 19 plus 5.
Okay. Here's what you know. There is in your tribe, there was, I guess, in your tribe, something like a legend or maybe a myth. You're not sure how to classify it exactly. It was spoken of as very ancient, and maybe the people who told the story maybe believed it was true or not. It had that sort of mythic proportion.
Griff.
Yeah, it's certainly it was apocryphal, thank you, and it was the kind of thing that everybody very much wanted to believe, and probably many people believed they believed, but not many people believed. And what you recall is there was a time when snakes could also walk like men. And they were great warriors and great wizards, and they could they're basically the heroes of old. They are these what's the name? They are the kind of Nephilim of your people.
Nanaga, if you will.
Yeah, the Nanaga of your people. And actually, you'll remember the name of them. Say it again.
Are they dragonborn, or are we not allowed to know that?
Here's what Diamondback, the word you had for them, which is actually similar for these people, but it's a little bit different. You remember them as Naga. You do not remember them as being undead in the stories that you heard. Okay, so there you are. With your Arcana roll, you are absolutely confident that this creature was probably its clan jester, a powerful wizard who juggled knives.
Because he rolled a 1.
Okay.
That's
Great.
not canon.
Is he confident that that's true?
Okay. So the next thing that Diamondback does, the next thing that Diamondback does is he wants to look around in the architecture of the tower around him, and who can he see who lives here? Who is highest up? Who's got the highest, tallest perch? Is there a lookout?
It's flat all the way around. Everything here is a lookout. You'll remember there are
We're
these.
on the very top right now.
Yeah, you're on the top inside the dome.
Right.
Outside the dome, there's another path you can walk around that has these big skulls that you can hide behind.
Is anybody up there?
Nobody's out there.
Okay, so I'm not going to go out there, but I'm going to try and get up high and like poke my head up to be sort of try to be audible because I want to shout to whatever's out there.
Okay.
And what you'll see is Diamondback is going to get up high and start yelling what sounds to you like nonsense. Like it's going to be like random words like Foxtrot, Alpha, Boom Slang, Cobra, the names of different snakes, and Oak Tree, Rock, just yelling like random stuff. And he's speaking in the Snake Clan's like secret military code. And he's saying something like, hey, I'm a member of the Snake Clan. I'm here. Like, you know, Snake Clan member from Snake Clan tribe number 1 reporting any other Snake Clan out there. Sort of thing.
Okay.
If there's somebody who's genuinely who is as familiar, who was trained by the Snake Clan as well, who's out there, they will recognize what Diamondback is saying.
Okay.
Do I hear any? Are there any human voices out there? I talk for a while, 10 or 20 seconds.
Yeah. You don't hear anything, but the creature, the attention of the creature is drawn to you. It sees you, this creature. And give me 1 second. Sorry, give me 1 sec. Diamondback. This creature sees you and moves towards you, and as it does so, it seems to kind of, from the snakes below it, some of them sort of writhe up its body, and it crushes around. It kind of grinds around in a circle with a puff of mist, a black mist. Roll a Dex saving throw. And I'm trying to look at what that saving throw roll is.
That's going to be. Oh well, you figure it out first.
Okay, give me 1 second. I don't understand exactly how. Oh, you know what? It's in the encounter, I bet. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Roll me a DC 12 saving throw.
You know what? It was a 12.
All right.
I saved.
Good for you.
Barely.
Yeah. A tie goes to you, right?
Yeah.
A tie goes to the...
Meet it, make it.
Okay, great. Sometimes those particular rules are a little hard for me to remember. And I'm looking for my thing. Okay, great. Here's what happens.
Bowl it.
I'm rolling that, but so for the sound effect. But actually, I'm going to do it in D&D Beyond because I don't have the right number.
Yeah, he got a bad roll.
You could just roll 4 more in D&D Beyond.
But it sounds better if you roll 8.
Okay. Diamondback, I got a 26. So this creature starts shimmering and shaking in all of its bones. Remember, this snake thing has ribs coming out of all these little tiny fine bones coming out of its spine, and it's writhing and clattering. And as it does so, they start sparking. And out of the thing itself, from nowhere in particular, electricity crackles all around, and a bolt streaks straight towards you. Diamondback, you take 13 damage.
Ouch.
Maybe you should stop talking to him. Belvari says canonically.
So say it louder.
Belvari says maybe you should stop talking to them.
Diamondback. This really hurts Diamondback. He is not knocked over, but sort of barely standing,
Mhm.
and he shouts.
Don't talk to it.
He shouts, "I'm a son of the pit viper!"
Neno runs over to you.
I
Crushes
was
some.
trained by Boomslang himself.
Neno runs over to you, crushes some components to heal you. I just rolled for her, and it's a 1. Plus she has a. So you get 3 of those back as an immediate.
And she also pull him down off of the...
She's not big enough for that, actually. But any of you could probably try it.
This has some strong Will Ferrell, I am a powerful man. I drive a Dodge Stratus energy right here.
But he's just sort of yelling in common, not in code, plain text, like his Snake Clan credentials, like recognize me.
Yeah.
I'm one of you.
Yeah.
I'm real. I'm here.
Maybe this is a kiss in their culture. So as this what they have called Nanaga is moving around near it, actually, you see stumble into the clearing. To your considerable surprise, everybody sees because they're all watching what's happened, except for Neno and you, because y'all are, in a bad way. Stumbling into the clearing, at the edge of the clearing.
Wait, I don't see this.
You're laying on your back, or did you say
I'm still upright.
Oh, okay. Are you still standing up high where you were?
No, I mean I'm not as high as I was because I'm slouched because I'm feeling really bad, but I'm still sort of in the top area.
If you're looking towards the Nanaga, everybody who's looking towards the Nanaga,
I very much am.
You see about 30 feet away from the Nanaga, a human who's clearly not undead, struggling under some weight. He's carrying in his arms what appears to be about a 14-year-old girl and trying hard to be not near or detected by these creatures. He's dragging behind him what appears to be the corpse of a deer.
Ah, that's the other 2 hunters, I believe.
Mm-hmm. As Belvari said, and y'all are all pointing. Fendra, who's the townkeeper, the demi-halfling townkeeper, points out and shouts, "It's Teko and Dadina! She's hurt!"
Ingadin, can you get them?
In the words of Lone Star, I'm already there.
Says Inkatink.
Yes.
What do you have that you could use for that, Inkatink?
Is it my turn?
We're not doing turns exactly. It's not exactly combat, right? Nobody's supposed to do any combat.
I will cast Long Strider on Inkatink.
Okay.
In case. gives him speed increases by 10 feet for the next hour.
Belvar just cast Long Strider on Inkatink. Inkatink, is there something you want to do with this?
Yeah, Inkatink pulls out his magical focus, and I don't know if we said canonically what that object is. I think we did, and I forgot.
It's a little blue stone.
Right. He takes out this small blue stone, and you see him float off of the ground, and he looks at the rest of the party and says, "Be right back." And
now there's a dome above the town that's thin. It's not. I mean, it's thinner than the rest of the wall. How do you want to deal with that?
but you said that there were lots of holes in it, right? To be
Yeah, but they're small. Like you can see through them holes, not like stuff that fit through easily.
Okay.
You can shoot through them with an arrow, but not.
Okay.
And the dome goes all the way over. There's not
Yeah.
He looks at Yoshka, and he says, "Help me!" And he, in a little girl's voice, he says, "Help me!" And he starts pulling apart the dome, trying to make a hole.
Morka was already acting, and the parts that you're pulling apart, Morka reaches and Krafit runs over to you and pulls you away. You're flying, so you're pulling there. Morka casts a spell, uses her components, and as it opened before, a small hole kind of folds inward, and there's a hole big enough for, it's a good 5-foot radius.
Okay. Then he shoots out the hole and flies to the girl and the father, and says to the father, "Hand her to me." Or
Okay.
hand it to me.
Diamondback would like to ready an action,
Okay.
which
Tell
is
me.
that whatever attacks Inkatink
Mm-hmm.
is going to get a magic missile.
Okay.
He's
So
got the
Inkatink,
components. The components are ready. If we were in initiative, this would be an official readied action. But
sounds
just
good.
Diamondback prepares his pouch and stuff, and is just super. As soon as something takes a bite out of Inkatink, it's getting a magic missile right in the face.
Yeah, but what if it's one of your new friends, the Nana got?
Then they're in trouble.
Inkatink, you're hovering a few feet off the ground at least, and
Not in
I'm going to roll to see what Teko does. An 8. He's reticent. You say, "Give it to me."
Yeah. And he points back up at the top of the tower.
He seems to struggle back and forth whether to give you the deer, like hand you the leg he's dragging, or to give you the girl. He doesn't know you, but he sees what's happening and ends up giving you Adina, his daughter, and handing it to her.
Inkatink immediately flies her back up and then flies back down to him and goes to help him.
As you're flying back up, let's see, hold on. Lambro, who's the hunter, the human hunter, Lambro has scrambled out of the little hole that Morka made, and he jumps off of the tower to the part below. But as he does, a little tiny black square extends in one dimension and then two, making a big hole. He falls straight through it and appears running horizontally from another one right near Teko. Doing so, he immediately grabs Teko and shouts to you, Inkatink, "Get the deer!" And as he, with the speed with which he's falling, runs out of that other portal, of the other dimension door, casts a few more components, a dimension door opens right in front of them, and the two of them are sort of thrust in, and then in the town top, opens up again, and they slam into the wall there, unharmed. The deer is there. Inkatink, it's up to you. The other creatures seem to be going towards the wall, but they hunted for a deer and found one.
Yeah, he'll grasp the deer in his talons and fly back up to the top with it.
All right, I'm going to roll real quickly. A 20 for you. Nothing. That's really, you got a natural 20 on that roll. Nothing attacked you. You were able to do it deftly without getting targeted. You make it back in. As you do, the Morka closes the hole behind you. It kind of folds back into its shape. The branches and brambles and antlers and horns and bones bending unnaturally back into their more natural seeming positions and kind of locking into place. They all are quickly tending to Teko and Adina. In particular, Fendra, the townkeeper, and Morka and Krafit. Fendra seems to also have a role of not just keeping things clean and tidy, but she also seems to be it seems as though she makes the place homey. Like her role is, this is a hard world, I'll make it nicer here. Again, an older lady, seems to be nice, doesn't talk a whole lot without, she's not super talkative, but with her friends, she's, taking care of them. Krafit and Morka run over. Krafit is standing with the father Teko, who's kneeling. Teko is kneeling next to his daughter Adina, and Krafit is standing there, pats Teko and says, "What happened?" Morka has kneeled down and is tending to her along with Neno. Neno has come in and is offering to try to help. Teko looks up at Krafit and all of you whom he does not recognize, but is just trusting Krafit at the moment, and says, "Oh, we tracked this deer, the only live one we saw. We tracked it for days. And then we found it and caught it along with 2 quail. But it was by the lake. And Adina, she saw the Baisugen. I didn't know because she went to go get the quail. I ran to her when I saw she was talking. She was talking to the Baisugen. And it lured her into the water, into the lake. I only got to her just in time, and I pulled her back. But as I did, I pulled her out of the water. It shouted and did something to her. I don't know what it did to her." And he's, his eyes are welled with tears. He has dragged Adina and this deer carcass for about a day. Dragged the deer carcass and carried Adina for about a day. That's approximately how far they said this lake is. Got here to find his town in the midst of a blood night, and is extraordinarily grateful, especially to you, Inkatink, for coming and getting Adina. He doesn't know what to do. Morka looks and says, "Oh, I don't have many healing elements left." She has previously explained that they're pretty rare here to find things that heal well. Erin Joy was going to be here tonight. I will play on her behalf at her wishes. This is the kind of thing she is good at, but she has components that heal, and I hear her now in my head saying, "I heal her." She readies some components, and I will not go into the detail of what those are, but I might add them in post or something, or have her do it. But she has some healing spells. I'm going to have her do 2 of them. Oh, wow. She must like her a lot better than Diamondback. I'm just kidding. Adina coughs and sputters and seems to be flushed with a little bit more color, but remains unconscious. Something has happened. Doesn't necessarily seem completely physical net or something. In the distance, as this is happening, a low reddish purple light. It's a strange light. It's like barely brighter than dark is the best you can think of to say. It's not that it's a dim light exactly, it's that it's a dark red, maroon, purplish color shimmering, starts filling the forest. You notice this because Obrion, the orc, the hunter who has not come, stayed watch, points out and he says, "They're coming. It looks like Feridov." Krafit snaps to focus and attention and kind of gives what appears to you to be a relieved sigh and says, "Feridov, it could be worse," and quickly makes his way to the bottom. What do y'all want to do? Stay up here with the others?
We don't want to cause trouble for you. Should we stay out of sight?
Feridov has gone below, but Obrion... Yeah, sure. Obrion, who's there, and says... Obrion is there and says... Sorry, Krafit has gone below. And says, "Better that you stay here, but we all are supposed to go. Or maybe you should... I don't know."
Is Diamondback still hollering from the rooftop?
No, Diamondback. Are you still shouting, Diamondback?
Diamondback has stopped shouting, but he is peering through whatever cracks he can at the Naga, the undead Naga.
Well, why doesn't it go stand next to Diamondback?
So
It's a good idea.
So
as he goes over, I hand you some sleep components.
all of the townfolk start descending, not as quickly as Krafit, but they're, it seems clear that they, after what Obrion said, that they're, quote, supposed. As they're heading out, Morka says, just said, it may not even be on there, but just in case. Yeah. As they're heading down, Morka is the last who says to Teko, "Bring Adina. Let's have her rest. Feridov will understand, but we've got to go." And Morka looks at the rest of you and says, "And you don't know what to make of that." Morka looks at the rest of you and says, "You should maybe come to the lowest platform, but not to the bottom. If we call you, you should come down if Feridov requires it." Okay. And she also goes down. Teko takes Adina over his shoulder, gets her down to a place to sleep, and then himself goes down. What do you do? What do you all do?
I will follow her advice and go over to Diamondback and insist that he do the same.
Diamondback, do you heed that advice?
Diamondback will reluctantly go with his friends, but you see that he's got his hands in his component pouch.
Okay.
I will start to put 15 shirts on Diamondback.
Keep adding shirts until he pops like a watermelon with the rubber
No,
band.
Diamondback has a shirt on right now, actually, and also his magic staff that's covered with snakes is sigils and stuff. That is also wrapped up in a cloth. So there's nothing snake-like visible on Diamondback right now. That's like one of the first things he did when he came into this place.
I didn't want to interrupt because there were so many lovely shenanigans going on, but as soon as Inkatink gets back, you said that what was the lady's name that starts with an M? Morka, that she recloses the ceiling back around them. But as soon as he can, he goes to Morka and the leader of the town, and he goes to them and says, Scout? And he, pantomimes himself flying around and asks them if they want him to fly around and scout.
And Krafit looks at you and says, "Thank you, but it isn't safe. You should stay here."
You see him get a very, very pained look on his face, and the feathers on his neck stick out, and he puffs up, and he just kind of shakes his head and is just walking away, nodding his head.
But Inkatink, you do notice that Morka, who seems to know more of your ways, elbows him hard in the ribs. As in, don't do that.
Cold comfort, but cool.
So Krafit goes down. This purplish, reddish light, this maroon sort of light, starts filling from one direction, from the southeast. From the southeast. This light dimly fills a big area, and what you see is a group of people, some human, some orc, some half-orc, just various people. There's probably a good 25 of them in the forest, and as they stop, one of them does something. He makes some kind of sign. He's a large orc who looks like he's in charge. And after a few moments, a shimmering sphere of swirling red and dark purple appears around them, the whole set of them. Perhaps some kind of magic warding or shield or something. As soon as all of you are down there, you can see them standing, and in a moment, y'all are standing behind and around this still glistening magic white stone, the bell above it. And there's plenty of room in what you have kind of come to start thinking of as the front of the town. It's at least where you approached, and it seems to be approximately where they have approached.
What are the undead creatures doing?
They're all just scrambling at the walls. It's loud, raucous.
Gotcha.
And
Are these
I'm
people
not
like
where all the people are? Aren't they outside the wall?
These 2-ish dozen people are outside the wall. They have stopped and put a kind of
gotcha.
magical shield around them, and they seem to not be concerned very much.
as they
However,
came? What was their interaction with all these zombies as they were coming?
They were riding horses. Some of them are riding horses or mules. Others of them are walking. But what you see is this orc who has his left hand appears to be glowing and held, like glowing a sort of dim purplish color. I say dim, I really mean bright, but a dark purple light. It's a hard thing for you to kind of wrap your head around. And he seems to be holding them at a distance merely by waving it back and forth, towards one of them. And they simply don't approach. As he does, so he's got his hand flat out, facing outward, glowing with this dark purplish.
Do I recognize the spell?
You do not. And what he does is the seven of them. Did I get that number right? 6 of them, and a 7th who seems larger and different. The 6 of them stand in a certain orientation, and in an instant, a puff of black smoke engulfs each of them, and they are standing before you in the town. A mist drops off of them. Here's what you see. There are a handful. There are 3 humans, one looking sort of grizzled and ready. 2 of them younger, not as much, not as experienced, you would guess. One robes, and you can't really see much of him, but he's got a whole bunch of robes on and chains with different symbols hanging off. There's also someone standing right next to the main orc. He appears to be not in charge, but in charge of the others. And then finally, you see this orc. The orc is bigger than most. This is Feridov. Krafit greets him, and you can tell from the greeting that he is Feridov, and his title is the Martial Priest of Garatone. Feridov, you can tell immediately, is always serious. Even for an orc, he does not seem friendly. No offense to Gulb, who was pretty friendly.
None taken. He's dead.
Yeah.
Hey, you never know around here.
That's right.
Maybe he's walking around.
So Feridov is this huge guy. Krafit greets him. Feridov nods at Krafit just barely, and more of an acknowledgement than anything else. Standing next to Feridov, you see something you don't quite understand how to think about. There is an ogre. Ogres are very large. It has teleported into this place with you, but it is not alive. It has flesh that has been stitched back to it. A thick, heavy chain hangs from the back of its neck with a thick choker around it. It has no arms. They've been removed or something. And it walks a sort of shambling walk, standing still. The chain is held by what appears to be Feridov's second in command. And at first you think it has a backpack is what it looks like, with several different weapons, the hilts of swords and things coming out, but you realize after a moment this is Feridov's arsenal stuck into the ogre. It is his sheath.
Oh.
Feridov walks over to the glistening white stone, puts his hand on it, and says, "Garatone, I implore you once again, subject your legions to my will." This stone that glows white glows a bit brighter white. And you see the hand that he was using, his left hand that has been touching the stone, glows much brighter of this dark purple. But as he pulls it off, you realize this hand itself is also iron, fixed, fused to his flesh, a prosthetic, an ominous prosthetic. He holds it up, and that same purple light wells and then bursts outwards. All of the undead that are outside, the zombies, all of the creatures, seem to writhe, and then, as though they can't control themselves, are pinned to the ground. Except for the Nanaga, which shrieks, writhes and fights against it, and is able to escape into the forest.
And the Nanaga is the large snake not
creature.
all of the, like, all the little...
They all escape with it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll leave it to you to determine what is the Nanaga.
Right.
It leaves via its...
Locomotion.
Yeah.
Centipede snake.
So these creatures all are pinned to the ground, moaning and groaning and grumbling, and he holds his hand still, and they are eventually quieted and apparently subdued. The maybe 20 or 18, 15 remaining outside go go around and start to shackle these undead creatures of every kind. You realize there are some monkeys that have been building. There are horses. There are humanoids. What look like they probably were sometimes orcs or humans. Adults, children, rabbits, whatever. They shackle them or bind them in cases, and Feridov, as they continue to work, turns to Krafit and says, having counted, it looks like, Jacob turns to Krafit and says, well, it is enough. Krafit does not speak. Feridov starts to walk towards his party, as in back into the position he was going to be in. I'll give y'all a chance. Do any of y'all want to do or say anything?
Did they notice the one that was digging a hole? And did they seem to?
Didn't seem to yet, that you're able to tell.
Gotcha.
Do I recognize?
What's that, Diamondback?
Do I recognize them as Iron Bell by any insignia or equipment or anything?
These are absolutely Iron Bell.
Am I visible to them?
Evolve into the background, and he actually rolled a natural 20 on stuff.
For stealth, okay. Y'all are on the platform above.
Right.
Right. Diamondback, yes, y'all can peer through and kind of look through cracks and see. You are not there visible to him that you can tell.
But like when they come in, when they teleport in, and I see these are Iron Bell, I'm doing exactly what Belvari does and hiding.
Roll a stealth check.
Oh, natural 20.
Wow. Belvari got that too.
So that gives me a 23.
Okay.
Talon's also going to hide in the background, and he already rolled, getting a natural 2. With a +1, that's 3.
Close,
So
close.
that's like 2/3, half an improvement, right?
Don't think too highly of yourself. Inkatink just rolled a 1.
Wow.
Let's not get anything in the middle, only extremes.
Toll or Yoshka, are either of you going to try to be stealthy or just stand there? Y'all are roughly obscured. You're on the platform above. You can look, kind of peer and watch what's happening.
I'm not going to try to hide, but I'm going to look. I keep glancing. Yoshka keeps glancing for Diamondback, and when he sees him disappear, he starts to get really worried.
I'm going to be hiding behind
Toll, how about you?
Diamondback.
I'll try to be stealthy, but I have disadvantage on stealth checks.
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear you, Toll.
I'll try to be stealthy, but I have disadvantage on stealth checks, and -1 is my modifier, so we'll see how I do.
Okay.
I mean, it makes sense.
Is a 7. The second one was a nat 1, and you round that down to a 0. So
Okay.
Oh no. You full of a took, you full of a toll.
Toll says, I'll hide with you guys.
And hide
Diamondback
behind
is not near him. Diamondback is far away from anybody saying that.
Well, I'm hiding
Toll.
behind you, and Toll's hiding behind
To
me.
be able to
so I
find
don't
us,
know.
roll for finding us.
Toll, to
You don't know
cover
where I am.
critical failures and successes, Inkatink you too. Roll me an additional d20 and just tell me, and that tells me how severe it is.
Four.
Okay.
Almost an 18, but no, a 4.
Okay. And you said a 13 total? Okay. I'm going to roll to see, of the 4 of you who stealthed, I'm going to roll for Feridov to see what he sees. Okay. He casts an eye up at what appears to be Inkatink and Toll doing some kind of Three Stooges slapstick. More Inkatink.
Pull a tooth out by closing a door and tying a string to it.
That's right. He hears Inkatink saying, knock, knock, knock.
Inkatink's probably really good at that.
Really good. And he turns and says to, and he let me actually check that. Actually, he doesn't really particularly notice Neno or Yoshka. And he turned Feridov to Krafit and says, "Where's the girl?" And Krafit says, "She's hurt. She got hurt. She's upstairs. I can bring her if you'd like. And Feridov holds up his iron hand and then closes, to your surprise, closes his iron hand into a fist. And Krafit just stops talking. And Feridov says, "What of these others?" And Krafit says, They just came. They just wanted to stay the night." And gives a glance, kind of a look at Krafit, and Krafit looks up and says, "You all come down here."
I'll come down. I'll try to come first and make sure I have my hat and my wayfaring whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Neno comes with you. She sticks with you, Yoshka.
Inkatink jumps off and seemingly falls at an awkwardly slow rate.
Toll?
Yeah, Toll will go. They already know
Diamondback
he's
is
there,
rolling
so.
a wisdom saving throw to see how ornery he's feeling. I think it's a DC 10. Oh, man. Why? Okay. That's a natural 1. Diamondback stays right where he is, hidden. He does not come down. He stays up.
Roll me a d20 so I can know the severity of that one.
6.
All right, you really mean
But
it.
that was just my role for me as a player to know how my character would
Yeah, I
decide
understand.
to act.
Yeah.
I think
And,
Inkatink flies down and lands right in front of the guy and just stares him dead in the eye with his cold black eyes unflinching.
I mean, can you stare with both of your eyes, or do you have to like face him with one of your eyes and then face him with the other? And bob your
I don't
head
have
back
to take
and
that
forth?
from
We'll
you.
go from one side
Stereo
of his
vision.
face.
It's like a flounder.
How close Inkatink?
He's not trying to get like in his face, because he's too short to do that. So probably, 2 arms length, not so close that it would be an obviously perceived threat, but he's not, 20 feet away from the guy. He's, maybe 7 feet away, 6 feet away from him. And he
So you're probably halfway between Krafit and Feridov.
certainly nobody in between me and him. He just
Krafit
lands in front of him and stares him in the eye.
not runs, but like kind of quickly walks towards you and tries to puts a hand on your shoulder to pull you back. Do you let him?
I think he puts a little bit of effort into standing his ground.
How much is a little bit?
He puts a concerted effort into standing his ground without fighting him back. If Krafit meets a little bit of resistance and leaves him, then he'll stay there. If Krafit tries to pull him initially and doesn't move, and then really pulls on him, he'll obey and do what his
On a straight
tells him to.
D20, what does Krafit need to roll to persuade you?
I mean, I would say probably my raw strength score, which is not a lot. but
This
it's
isn't
not
strength,
nothing.
right? This is your intent. So how hard does he have to persuade you? 20?
14.
Or like, what is it?
14.
He stops. He tries to pull you a bit, but then quickly moves away, apparently concerned for his own safety. Belvari, what do you do?
I was hoping you would forget me.
Oh!
It could just be an animal.
Yeah, I mean, I'll wait. I'm gonna wait and see if Grafit's like what he says.
Waiting for a moment, the second in command, the aide de camp for Feridov, whispers something to Feridov. Feridov looks at Krafit, and Krafit says, "There are two more. Perhaps they're tending to the girl. Come down here."
Belvari will pick up Diamondback and go down.
Belvari will have to roll a pretty good perception check to find Diamondback.
Do it. Roll.
6. Oh man, that dice didn't even roll. It like slid out and hit the corner and stayed.
Diamondback, y'all are in a very small space.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just disappear.
I think you can hide from Feridov there, but not from Yosh.
Okay.
Not from your party. Yeah, I mean, y'all are like.
That's fine. Yeah, if because not all environments provide sufficient hiding space for any kind of hiding you might want to do. So yeah, if Belvari like grabs me and pulls me, I'll be like, and go with him.
Okay, he does. Y'all go downstairs, and Feridov seems satisfied, and he says, "Pull back your bird."
Inkatink looks away from him and turns his back to him and walks behind Krafit and then turns around again, standing behind other people.
And okay, and I'm gonna see what he thinks of that. Okay, y'all gonna do anything else here?
Yeah. Diamondback is going to stand in the back. Like when he comes down, he goes and stands behind the others.
Mm-hmm.
Are there two sort of in front of me?
They're all
of my companions.
Sure, they can be of the townsfolk.
Are we completely surrounded by Iron Bell, or are
No,
they only in front of us?
They're in front of you. Y'all are towards the back of this, towards the middle, near the Whitestone.
Okay.
Feridov is looking ready to leave, looking you all over.
Okay, if he's actively examining us, I'm not going to try and pull anything.
Okay. He looks at you, and he's all of you. I mean, he walks towards the Whitestone, and he taps it, and says to Krafit, "Yes, it's enough this time. You," towards those of you who just came down, more towards Yoshka because you came down first. "Why are you here?"
We're all refugees.
Refugees from what?
I was separated from my wayfarers and came across these others in the forest. Our cities were destroyed.
"Are you to stay here now?" he says to you, Yoshka, but looking at Krafit.
I am going to give Yoshka would give Krafit a moment to answer, and then
Krafit does jump in.
Okay.
And says, "No, they were just here for the night. They came right before nightfall, and they were going on their way. I don't know where. First thing in the morning." Are you going to say anything?
No.
Okay. Feridov looks and seems approximately satisfied and turns his back to you all, and kind of as though kind of thinking it over, walks slowly but not like super slowly. Takes him maybe 10, 15 seconds to kind of decide what to do as he's walking back to his group with his back to you. He gets there. Go ahead.
As he turns his back on us and walks back to his group, Diamondback, secretly, like below the belt, like you're passing a note in class, passes to Yoshka and Inkatink and Belvari. Each get one little packet of components. But
What's in it?
Diamondback doesn't say anything, but he just if you want me to make a sleight of hand check to see how well this goes, I'm happy to. But I waited until their backs were turned, and I'm just sort of putting it in their hands.
Do me a sleight of hand check, and I'm going to have his party whose backs are not turned. Okay, what's your sleight of hand?
I'm just passing, a little folded, little folded thing. Let's see, what is my sleight of hand? Oh, it's not bad. It's actually going to be a 20, 17 plus 3.
Okay. He gets back to his group. He
Yoshka is sweating.
Does the sweat mix in the little packet of components?
you hear from outside the wall, from a couple of different quarters, one person says, "Secured!" And then somebody else, "Secured!" From different bits and pieces around. And you see them leading kind of a chain gang of various undead. And they take them back over to their horses group. They've got long rods to connect the chains at both ends so that the creatures can't get closer to the horse. Rather than chains, these rods keep them at a radius.
Are the Iron Bell outside of the encampment now?
Well, a whole bunch already. These are still
all
in
of them. Oh, they're all there. Some of them are still inside. I want to do something when the last Iron Bell exits the town.
Yeah. So Feridov says to Krafit, "Good enough for now. I will leave the stone one more month." And then seemingly simultaneously, all of the 7 that were there, that's the 6 Iron Bell and the big ogre, dissipate in a puff of smoke and reappear outside.
I say in a whisper to Krafit, "Would you like us to kill him?"
Krafit says, "What? Shut up. What? Shut up."
Diamondback takes one step back and just stands there to let him think a minute.
They do their business outside in the dark of night. It is a little past what you would think of as midnight, so it could be 1, 2 a.m. basically. As they gather up their creatures and take this train on their way, they start to march away, and you see the glowing reddish purplish light drift out into the night with them. The townsfolk, including Krafit, have not moved an inch. You can't tell if they're waiting or if they're just not doing anything until a little while has passed. It's been a few minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Pretty soon you can't see them anymore. In the distance, the last of the light fades away. And Krafit seems to visibly let down and says, "Whew. That was a pretty good tribute. I think I want to go to sleep.
Novari quickly asks, so if there aren't enough undead, do they take you?
Morka looks at you and says, they always leave with enough undead.
Diamondback gets back his components from his friends.
Guys.
Diamondback says, okay, we're not going to kill the guy. Can I give those back to me now?
Inkatink looks at him and says, today.
Krafit says, basically, is everybody's ready for bed. There's not a lot of chatter going on. They still have their watch they're going to do. I guess y'all might still do your watch. But he kind of says in passing as he goes, especially towards you, Yoshka, Neno, which the savvier of you all might perceive that he considers Yoshka and Neno the more mature of the group.
That is a great idea.
Less psychotic.
He says to you all, you have been welcome, but it might be best to leave in the morning.
Yes.
Wait, but I need to know whether I can put these components back in my inventory or not.
Inkatink hands you back whatever. If you ask, he hands them back to you immediately.
Yeah, I do.
Novari hopes that you forget him.
Yeah, but I'm standing there with my hand out like, hey, give me back that thing.
You can have him back.
And
Okay.
as everybody's going, Krafit is kind of walking around towards the different townfolk and kind of reassuring them. Morka, as usual, is right with him. She seems to generally be with him and ready to help or whatever he says, because he's capable and he's the leader, right? And he goes to Yoshka and Neno. He comes up to you and says to you what he says in that process. Not to each of you individually, but to you two for everybody. Goes to each of the townfolk individually, including the two little halflings who were scrambling around, the little semi-feral halflings. He kind of pats the ground near one of the openings and, tells them, "Good job, you guys. Good job." And they skitter around. And
as he passes me, I'll say, "We will leave in the morning, and if you wish, I can in 1 hour sing a song that will give you half a night's sleep back."
He stops for a moment and seems grateful. And he doesn't say anything, but he kind of like shrugs and nods, like, that'd be great if it works. You're the platform you're on. If you were to sing, you'd be able to do it as they're sleeping, as they're going to sleep, and they would all hear you because it's this vertical column. Belvari, as he's doing this sort of last minute thing, comforting people, he stops it next to you just for a few moments and says something to you very quietly that no one else can hear, that I will tell you separately.
Okay.
And it's quick enough that perhaps no one else even notices. But so they all go to bed except for the ones staying watch. You all can do the same. Yoshka, you volunteered to try to bless them with some song. And though he may not know what you're talking about, he's grateful at least for the effort, and maybe he'll also be grateful for the effect.
Diamondback would like to get with Yoshka and just outline a real quick battle strategy with Yoshka.
Okay.
And he's gonna sit, and Diamondback is gonna say, Yoshka, the day may come when we will have to do battle in earnest with one of these metal-handed Iron Bell. It will not always be possible to flee or submit to them. What if today they had not had enough undead and they wanted to claim you or Belvari or Inkatink. I would have thought. Let me suggest this as a strategy. I have a number of components to cast the spell Heat Metal. We know that they're vulnerable to it. So I suggest that we give each member of the party one packet to cast Heat Metal, and that we call this plan the Black Mamba. If you say Black Mamba, we each simultaneously cast Heat Metal on the hand of the Chief Iron Bell, and then scatter and hide as best you can, maintaining concentration. You will be dead in minutes.
That is a good idea. Good as a last resort. There are many things I would say first before this, but you know my way.
How many
Also,
members of
if I can put a bookmark in something for when he whispers something to Belvari.
Sounds good. I'll remember for next time. That is where we'll end this episode. Diamondback, were you going to say one last thing on that?
No.
Okay. That is where we'll end this episode. Thank you so much for listening. You can get more details about the world and the story we're telling at the starfallcollective.com. Have a good night, and thank you.